What's up, guys? It's Brian with MTMX.com. Sorry about the little bit of a cold. We'll just put that on the side and keep these videos going. Nothing you can do about it. It's Mother Nature. But today I want to bring you guys a video that's kind of going to go into what I think the best move right now would be to make as far as someone who's looking to get a little bit more into mixing, mastering work, and sort of invest in their craft. I want to go into what I think the top 3 plugins you should look into if you're going to start investing in plugins. If you already do buy plugins, this is also a great video for you. I'll just explain essentially what I think that the best workhorses as far as plugins go are. And I'm just going to go through them real quick. I'm not going to go into tutorials for each one. I'm just going to show you which I think are the best and what I think you should invest in as far as the price point and the functionality of each plugin. So let's go ahead and get right to it. All right, cool. So we got this session up. Every plugin that I'm actually going to mention, I naturally used in this session, so that's really cool. You could see the session breakdown is essentially just the vocal stems, and then it goes down into the beat stems, and then I got things routed off the different buses, but I'm not going to get into that. So we're gonna start with my first plugin that I would highly recommend. It's hands down the biggest workhorse of the list that I will give you, and that is Slate Digital's Virtual Mix Rack. This thing's really cool. It gives you a lot of customization, which I like. If you get just the Virtual Mix Rack, you actually don't get any of the things that I'm using here, but you do get a set of compressors. You get some basic EQs, 2 EQs, which work really good. This guy right here, the cool thing about it is you could just click and drag it, and it acts as sort of like a 500 series box, like a lunch box. This guy represents the Brit 4K EQ. This is they call it the FGS. You got your FGN right here, and it's really, you got all sorts of different customization. With this one single plugin from Slate Digital, you could essentially have an instance of VMR, Virtual Mix Rack, on every one of your plugins, and it'll work fine. It's not computer intensive at all. And then the other thing that I really like about this is that it's expandable. As you can see here, I'm using things that don't come with a Virtual Mix Rack, but they do offer them. So over time, you could add to this collection. For example, I have an emulated 76. I have a 73, and these two are essentially preamp. They emulated preamps, and then I have a distressor over here, a distressor emulator. At least they call it the FG Distress. And this is actually my favorite plugin as of right now. But apart from these 3, you have the Air series, which is Air Earth. It's got the EQ, and as you click on it, it'll show you essentially a description of what it does, which is pretty cool. You have their CS series, which is another EQ. You have a lift, which I think is a compressor. I've actually never used EQ. I've actually never used this before. Then you have your sets of compressors. You have your preamps. You have some EQs. You have your distressor. Ignore that. Your distressor. Then you have these guys, which are pretty cool. They're essentially, they are preamps, but you could switch between them whether you want them to emulate the preamp or the console of what it was. I don't use those too often, but they do give you a pretty unique sound. And then my second favorite, which I'm actually looking back at the session, I'm surprised I didn't use it. There's the Virtual Console Collection, which you'll be able to switch between different famous consoles. You have a drive knob, so you could drive the input, or you could do it manually here. You could link the ins and outs and sort of do it that way. Very cool. Then you have your Mixbus. So this is a bus emulation. So it's very similar to these two. You switch between the different consoles, and then you could run bus effects. So say you have a group of vocals, you could send everything over to this, and it sounds really good. Glues everything together very nicely. So this is definitely my number 1 recommendation. biggest workhorse of everything. It's just this one plugin VMR, and you could add all of these effects onto it. And the cool thing about Slate Digital is they're relatively cheap. They have annual plans, monthly plans, where you could just get everything they have, which is pretty awesome. So that's what I'm currently on. So definitely check them out. The next plugin we're going to go into is Fabfilter's Pro-Q. Now, this is a really cool plugin because it gives you a graphical, it shows you the frequencies that are moving around as you play some songs. I'm going to show you an example right now. I'm not going to really move around. I just want to show you guys how the frequency spectrum is moving around so you could see which frequencies are playing. I'll show you how you could just highlight those frequencies and bring it down and cut it. So I'm going to show you that right now.
It left an infant, gotta push it, that's the mission. Supposed to be an exhibition. This was supposed to be an exhibition. This was supposed to be an exhibition. Guess I don't know my own strength, I killed them. This was supposed to be an exhibition. This was supposed to be an exhibition. This was supposed to be an exhibition. Guess I'm just too pessimistic. This was supposed to be an exhibition. This was supposed to be an exhibition. This was supposed to be an exhibition. Guess I don't know my own strength, I killed them. This was supposed to be an exhibition. This was supposed to be an...
So you can see right there, that's a really cool feature. You could visualize the frequency spectrum and literally grab frequencies that are popping out graphically and kind of compensate for them. So that's really cool. This is Pro-Q by Fabfilter. They have a really incredible line altogether. Definitely check out their other plugins as well. They have compressors, EQs, de-essers, things along those lines. And they're a great company. Haven't had any issues with them. So definitely check out Pro-Q. It's my go-to EQ plugin. And then last but not least, I do tend to use this plugin probably on every mix that I do if there's vocals included. And this is Auto-Tune. I'm on 8.1 by Antares. This is... probably one of your most requested, if you're working in hip-hop at least, one of the most requested plugins that I get. A lot of my clients always ask me if I could throw auto-tune on their voice. It's such a commercial name that they even know what it is, and that speaks for itself. A lot of clients won't come up to you and say, hey, can you throw Fabfilter Pro-Q on my voice? Just because they don't know what it is. This has such a commercial name to it that people that don't even mix or master or do any of this know exactly what it is. So you could say, you could have somebody come up to you and say, hey, can you do some vocal correction, throw some auto-tune on my voice, and then boom, you got to have it. There's not a lot of plugins that do this. There are a few. There's Melodyne, Waves Edit, or Waves Tune, I think it's called. So those will get the job done, but I really like Auto-Tune 8. I think it's really easy to use. A lot of people like Melodyne, and I also do like Melodyne, so definitely check them both out. But I tend to go to Auto-Tune 8 just because of the sort of automatic pitch correction that it has. I think it's very accurate. You do have a way to go to your graph. You could track it out and draw the notes in. That's if I'm working with like an R&B singer where I don't want to crush the vocal with Auto-Tune. But this is definitely... worth the investment. You'll get a lot of clients that are asking you to use this. So without further ado, guys, if you have any questions or comments or concerns, or you want to fight with people in the comments, just leave it down below. I'll be sure to answer any of the comments. And until next time, guys, I'll talk to you soon. Peace.
She looking, stepped away with your babe, came back out, collar crooked, mama cooking in the kitchen, papa booked it, left an infant, gotta push it, that's the mission. Why you looking so suspicious? You got something up your sleeve, I got something that you